The following is a Candlepin Stars and Strikes rebroadcast featuring some of our most memorable programs. Hi again, everybody, and welcome once again to Park Place Lanes here in Windham, New Hampshire, and another week of Stars and Strikes doubles here on the Winds. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy, and it is semi-final time once again.
Certainly is, and 2 weeks ago we had two big 400 matches, scores I should say, and last week another 414, and looks like it's going to take that much to win.
All right, of course we've got prize money on the line, and of course the winners of this match today will move into our ladder championship match next week for a spot in the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions doubles version, which will be coming up in the spring, but we'll tell you more about that in a little while. Right now we want you to meet all the bowlers that you'll be seeing on this afternoon's program. First of all, our number 3 seeded team, a pair of left-handers. They were here last week and rolled that outstanding 4-14, looking for their second win in a row. This Sunday it's Tom O'Brien and Glenn LeBlanc.
Okay, and Tom comes from Natick, Massachusetts. His average is 127, his roll-off score 675, and his partner Glenn LeBlanc from Greenville, New Hampshire, also with a 127 average and a 668 for a roll-off score.
And of course they were very consistent throughout last week in rolling that 4-14 as they knocked off Bob Mazur and Phil Clough in their first win. So now they try and make it 2 in a row, and standing in their way, the number 2 seeded team in this series. We're going to meet now Owen Martin and John Maffeo.
Okay, and Owen Martin, first time with us. He's from Sanford, Maine. Average 119, 679 for his roll-off score. And his partner, John Maffeo from Goffstown. He's been with us a number of times, averaging 125 and a 664 for his roll-off score.
And these two teams know each other well. They had to go an extra string and then 2 boxes beyond that to decide which team would be in the number 2 seeded spot as their roll-off scores were tied. We'll show you the roll-off scores after we take this break, but we've got 3 strings of bowling coming up, semifinal time here on Stars and Strikes doubles, and we'll get the match started right after these words. Don't go away. Well, Dan, you mentioned it a moment ago, 400s have been the order of the day so far in this particular doubles series here on Stars and Strikes, with Bob Mazur and Phil Clough eking out a 5-pin win in week 1 as they threw a 434 and won by only 5 against Bob Buxton and Reggie DeLine. And then last week, Mazur and Clough were defeated as they saw Tom O'Brien and Glenn LeBlanc throw a 414. So as you see, the number 2 and 3 seeded teams match up in this one. And the winners here will, of course, move on to our series championship match next week. And the winner of that one, of course, splits $800 first prize money and also gets a spot in the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions doubles version. So right now we are all set as Glenn LeBlanc is ready to lead this match off as we begin our semifinal here on Stars and Strikes doubles. Glenn partnered with Tom O'Brien. They had a big week last week. Glenn, I know, is very happy because he got his first win here on Stars and Strikes last week.
He's going to do it until he does it right. Well, this time he's going to try to do it right by knocking down the 4-5-7. All kinds of lumber out in front.
Spare it up in the first.
Off target to the right, 4 horsemen plus the 9-pin, 5 fill on the spare.
Ooh, really turned that one over.
And likewise, and it's a disappointing 6 box, so 21 after 2 frames.
And now our first look at Owen Martin from Sanford, Maine.
A bowling center proprietor.
And making his very first appearance here on Stars and Strikes. Partnered with John Maffeo, who's been here many times.
Just sliding by to the right. Another 4-step approach for Owen.
Gets out of it for a $9. Yeah, Owen owns and runs the Bowlerama in Sanford, which ironically is where he bowls most often.
And this time just sliding by on the left, just missed the headpin, but it got a decent break, the 1 and the 3 left. So everyone's first reaction is, well, he must be pretty good then. He probably practices all the time. Now, let me tell you. It's usually the story of the plumber with the leaky pipes, you know. You own a bowling center and you do less bowling than before when you didn't run one, so.
Well, I know also it applies, I think, to many sports because, for instance, golf professionals who are club pros don't get a chance to play very often. I remember we did a golf show, a series of shows this past summer here on the Winds, and talking to the pros involved with that, they all say the same thing. We just don't get a chance to play much because we're always giving lessons and taking care of things at the club and so forth. This is Tom O'Brien, Glenn LeBlanc's partner. He registers a 9.
It gives them 30 through 3. Each team has 1 mark so far. The same leave, 5 and 10.
Seemed like he deserved better.
Well, I think he'd probably go after it the same way. Try to cut the 5 pin. I almost fit it in the hole. If he catches a little bit of that left-hand wood, might be good too. Well, he did, and wasn't that good. Left the 10 pin.
And it's still there. Pair of 9s for Tom. And now our 4th bowler, John Maffeo. John has been here a total of 11 times, most recently here on doubles just a few weeks ago when he was paired with Don Weatherby. He and Don won 2 matches and then lost the series championship match to Gary Carrington and Jack Ray when they threw that outstanding 448 triple. So John right back here in the next series and giving it another try with partner Owen Martin.
And they have the early lead by 1, disappointing 4 in their spare. That's the ball he wanted on the spare. 4-7 left.
Again, the only bowlers that are now ineligible for the rest of the year on Stars and Strikes doubles as of this moment are Gary Carrington and Jack Ray because they are already safely into the Tournament of Champions. Spare up in the 4th for John Maffeo.
Glenn LeBlanc up for his next 2 frames.
Half Worcester left side.
I actually heard that ball hit. He actually dropped the ball a little bit behind the foul line. Get the ball out on the lane.
Like that.
Right.
For the 10. And a 49.5 for the team. Back in the pocket that time, although light.
A lot of times that's the way to play the pins here at Park Place Lanes. A light hit and you'll scramble them. They'll stick around on the plate a little more, do a little more damage for you. Gonna play the wood this time and that close.
See if Glenn can plow through this wood. He does for the 10. And now Owen Martin comes up to work on the spare left by his partner, John Maffeo.
Already leading by 2, and he can increase that by the number of pins he knocks down with his first ball.
A little short on the right side for Phil.
Owen's ball really spins. So he's looking for that ball to break. And I talked about lane conditions a lot. There's a lot of dressing on the lanes here at Park Place Lanes. And so the ball is going to slide a lot more than break if you're used to having it break from right to left.
it's a 9 box. So the lead is 5 through the first 5. Owen and his wife Sandra have 3 children, 10-year-old Erica, 4-year-old Russell, and 1-year-old Cassandra, and they have one on the way in March. Right in the pocket again and kicks it out. Watch out, it's a strike. Takes out the 5, and as you said, Dan Murphy, keeping those pins on the plate where they will do some damage.
It was almost going to be disastrous. It looked like the 4-5 right here. The 5 finally went down, and then he got a nice kick off the 5 for the 4. So he turned a split 4-5 into a 9 drop into a strike.
See if Tom O'Brien can snap this one over. Nope.
'69 through 7. So just that first spare in the first box by Glenn LeBlanc, and they've been open so far since then. And this is not going to be an easy one. 2, 5, and 8.
Just sliding by to the right. Tom O'Brien has a high single of 200. High triple of 485. Got that one for a 10, the 4th consecutive 10 box for the team. They have just the 1 mark in the first. Meanwhile, John Maffeo now steps up working on a strike. And he is right through the middle.
As I look at the scoreboard too, they have 3 marks, 2 spares and a strike, all on lane 31. And there he gets up working on a strike on 32, and it goes through the middle and just takes 1 more pin for a disappointing 5 fill. So 4 on 1 spare, 4 on another, and 5 on a strike. And a disappointing 6.
6 is the lead. John lives in Goffstown with his wife Janet, their 3 children, 14-year-old John III, 13-year-old Michelle, and 11-year-old Paul. John works as a purchasing agent for Nuclear Metals Incorporated, does most of his bowling in Manchester at the King Lanes. And he is making his 12th appearance here on Stars and Strikes.
Great
and
shot.
Shots like that get him here.
I just think he was all over the place, and then finally puts one where he wants to, makes a great spare, and maybe that's enough to boost his confidence and getting him squared away.
Well, you might have just seen before we went to that replay, he was kind of shaking his head a little bit and a little disappointed with that fill on the strike in the previous frame. But he leaves a spare up in the 8th, and now Glenn LeBlanc trying to solve the 7-pin. Yes. Just caught it on the inside.
Well, you might give him that spare because of the lane finish. Didn't have a chance to break to the right and go by the 7. Kind of slid a little bit. He was able to clip the 7-pin before it went by. Right back in the pocket. This time coming forward. Everything but the 2.
Looking for 2nd mark in a row. And right on it. It'll be 108 plus a ball here in the 10th. For the team of LeBlanc and O'Brien. They averaged 138 in their 3 games last week in that 414. This time it's a 114 opening game.
So Owen Martin will try to fill the spare up in the 8th, and again, it's every other box. All marks on lane 31. Try to solve the jinx on lane 32.
Right in the pocket that time. There's your mark on lane 32.
That's solving it. He just buried this one in the 1-3 pocket. Watch the ball spin. It's trying to break, and it finally does just a little bit. Comes in right in the flush in the 1-3 pocket, and the result is even better with a strike.
This time through the center. That's how much a little difference can mean in where that ball first strikes the pins. 6 fill. Martin and Maffeo will have the lead after 1, and a nice conversion for the 10. 121, and a 7-pin lead for Martin and Maffeo after 1. We'll be back, game 2, upcoming on Stars and Strikes doubles in a minute. Game 2, Stars and Strikes doubles. Glad you could join us for our regular Sunday afternoon meeting. 2 full hours every Sunday here on The Winds from noon to 2. John Maffeo with his partner Owen Martin leading by 7 after game 1. Ooh.
Just sliding by in the right.
Nine box to open. Oh, big ball that time, knocking out the 8-pin last. Getting a little action on the back row for the strike.
I think he just got a little mad at himself and said, look, I'm going to throw this ball a little harder. And I think what it did was he got the ball out in front of him a little better.
Yes, matching strike for Tom O'Brien. That one in the first. And a little different. Ball breaking away as he goes over the Brooklyn side for the left-hander. Oh, and again, how about that?
That was a quick one.
Double strike for Tom O'Brien.
Hardly work up a sweat there, just throwing 2 balls.
Throw 2, sit down.
Well, Owen's going to try to do the same thing. He is working on a strike now, put up by his partner in the second. Got to hurry. Well, watch out! Watch out! Oh. It would have looked the same on the scoreboard. But certainly wouldn't be like the one that, or the 2 of them that Mr. O'Brien put up. But that's a spare on strike, 39, with the ball to come in the third.
Ooh, punching through that time, a 4 fill.
Well, I think he's going to play the 2-4 here and have him snap the wood into the cluster of 4, 3, 6, 10, and the 9. Well, so much for that call, Dan.
And we'll never know. That one just got away from him.
I think it got away from him, but he might have been going for the 3-6. Well,
maybe.
There's my way, and there's the right way. And Owen showed us the right way, and he had the same idea, but he decided to go in the cluster of 4, and first ball got away from him. So it's their downfall right now is they're getting the marks, but they're not getting a lot of good fills.
This is on a double strike for Glenn LeBlanc. So this first ball very critical, and it's just 4.
You never know. Take the 4.
Let's see if this will go. He catches it and leaves the 10-pin.
All right, grab the stick. Nice fit.
Still 43 in the first 2. That's not bad.
Not bad.
All right, one right here.
However, it could have hurt a lot more. That 4 fill on the first strike, I'm sure they didn't like that. That gives them the lead now overall by 2 pins. 9 in this game and 2 overall.
Well, how about that for a chop? The 1, 2, and 9. Wow.
And one of them is lying in the channel on the left-hand side. Pretty good recovery. He's going to try to grab 2 and get out of town here.
If he does grab 2, the match will be dead even. And there you are. We will take a pause. O'Brien and LeBlanc at 60 through 4. And this match is tied. We're just about at the halfway point. Semi-final week on Stars and Strikes doubles. Don't go away. By the way, before we forget, those of you who are interested in stopping by and watching a taping of Stars and Strikes doubles here at Park Place Lanes in Windham, we won't be here for a while, but if you want to plan ahead, December 17th, Tuesday, December 17th. We're out doing some Christmas shopping and
That's right.
Want to stop by. We'll be here from about 9:30 in the morning until 4 or 4:15 in the afternoon. So anytime during that time frame, if you'd like to stop in, we'd love to see you here at Park Place Lanes.
And even if they haven't done the Christmas shop, there's still plenty of time.
That's right. Plenty of time for me, I know.
Me too.
8 days, that's a lifetime. Spare for John Maffeo in the 5th. And a pretty nice looking ball on the fill, but he'll have to make a shot here on the 9 and the 10.
Let's see where this wood ends up. They may rest against. This is going to look better and better as it rolls down towards the 9-pin. No, it's not going to. It's going to have to play the wood on the right. And probably just below the red line. If he goes too far, it's going to snap and hit the 9-pin and not touch the 7.
Take another look at it. That wood at first was way out on the front of the pin plate. Now it's about halfway back. And if it had been farther out, he might have had a better shot at snapping it, but instead, he'll have to take another crack at the 7-pin. For the 10. So the spare 8 and 10 put up by John Maffeo, and that'll give Tom O'Brien something to shoot at here. The match is dead even. That roll-off score that you saw for Tom O'Brien, again, the roll-off scores are compiled individually. The bowlers enter separately, not as teams. We take the top 10 finishers of the final roll-off, which for this particular doubles series was held at the Exeter Bowling Center. And then after the order is determined, 1 through 10, how they finish up in the finals, the bowlers are paired. Number 1 is paired with number 10, number 2 with number 9, etc., etc. And then the roll-off scores are added, and it is the combined roll-off scores that we use to determine the seedings for the teams. And how about that for a 9-drop? Well, Joe Paglia has been faked out a couple of times this last box or so, and now he is going to have to go down there and check on a piece of dead wood.
I have to ask him about of course, he sits on a chair and it's on lane 35, even with the lob line, and I guess he wasn't sitting still, but the back legs went into the channel. I have to ask him about that.
And we'll mark down Joe for a 1 there.
Yes, yeah.
Now, obviously, that wood out of play, so it'll be interesting to see what Tom does here, whether he'll go right at the 7 or maybe shoot for that wood.
I think he's going to go at the 7.
He does, and doesn't quite have enough room. And on the other side.
So the lead now is 9 pins for Martin and Maffeo.
And here's Owen Martin.
I heard his partner, John Maffeo, say you got away with it, and he did. He missed the head pin far to the right, but leaves himself just the 1, 2, 3, and 5. Triangle up front.
Tell you, for this ladder series, Dan, we've had people from literally all over New England here. So Owen Martin here from Sanford, Maine. Of course, for the first couple of weeks, Phil Clough was here from Warren, Mass, way out in the western part of the state towards Springfield. Bowlers coming from all over.
Tribute to the fine job that the Winds do with the two bowling shows, and of course the sponsors realize that as well.
Well, and also we don't often take time out to acknowledge the people who really helped to make this program possible, and that's all the lane operators of the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association who run the roll-offs. Every time we have a taping, there is a roll-off held in every single New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association member house. And of course, without them and all of their support, the show just doesn't happen. And we certainly want to acknowledge the fine work that and effort that they put in from year to year.
Yeah, it's a 9-box for Owen and 100 through 8. With the two shows now, there's a lot of possibilities for roll-off, so contact your nearest NHCBA house and ask them when the next Channel 50 roll-off is. No entry fee, just pay for the 5 strings of bowling. There's a strike.
Then LeBlanc with a hard strike in the 7th. That one came with authority. Well, also with the element of this doubles format, Dan, and the fact that we're taking 10 bowlers out of the final roll-off, that obviously gives an awful lot more people a shot at it. There's no other bowling show on television that takes that many bowlers from one roll-off, and that gives an edge perhaps to some folks who would like to try and get on the show and maybe haven't felt that they could compete at the level of some of the pro bowlers, for example, and this gives you an opportunity to try and get in there with those guys.
Exactly right. Well, with that strike and spare, the lead is switched now, and O'Brien and LeBlanc have the lead by 2.
For the 10, John Maffeo.
Off target to the right, but hang on. Similar shot his partner just had. The 1, the 2, the 3, and the 5. And he's got a couple pieces of wood. Well, it's pretty well locked. I think if he's on the head pin, he's got a real chance at making this for a spare. Looks good.
There it is. Spare in the 10th for John Maffeo. 120 plus a ball. The diamond is an easy shot when you get all that wood in there.
Yes. Oh boy, off target again, so.
Oh, it's been a common problem for the team of Maffeo and Martin throughout the match. They've had trouble on fills. 122 for a 2-string total, 243 for the team. Remember, they led by 7 coming in to this second game. Tom O'Brien working on the spare left by Glenn LeBlanc. And it's a 7 fill.
7 fill and lots of possibilities here with a 2, 4, and 10. A double piece of wood behind the 2 and the 4. It looks like the second piece might have enough angle to grab the 10 pin.
Yes. 3 marks in a row for the team. And they've got a good string working here as they're coming on at the end. This will be a strike, I'll bet. Oh, sure. Had the 7, 9, and 10 left at first. And then it all turned into a strike for Tom O'Brien.
As long as you keep those pins moving. There you have it. 146 and 2 balls to come.
How about another one? Oh, a piece of wood deflected a piece that was about to come out and take out the 5 pin, it appeared, or else it would have been a double strike. Instead, it's spare on strike and an outstanding finish for the team of O'Brien and LeBlanc. They knock out a 156 and a 2-string total 270. So there is the picture. The lead is 27 with 1 game to go here on semifinal week. Stars and Strikes doubles continues after these words. Tom O'Brien is set to lead off game 3 now here at Stars and Strikes doubles.
I don't understand their strategy here. I mean, the fellow just went 9-pin drop, spare, strike, spare, and they want him to lead off. Can't understand that.
Yeah, Tom and Glenn talked it over, and they have switched the order here, as is their option for the third game. So Tom, who has been rather warm, and he stays that way, picking off the single pin for the spare.
You see the lead, 27 pins.
And they trailed by 7 after 1. Really, all of that lead was compiled in the last 4 boxes of that middle game down. They had 79 in the first 6 boxes and 77 in the last 4. All those marks clustered together.
Well, it's a disappointing 4 in the spare. So the spare is not going to hurt the team of Maffeo and Martin as much as they might have thought it was going to.
9 bucks.
Okay, let's switch that score, and 4 and 9. 23. Now Owen Martin is decided to lead off for his team.
Owen's had a bit of a problem leaving the ball out to the right.
I can't help to go back to that lane dress, and the ball is spinning like crazy, but it just doesn't seem to break for him, and I think he's waiting for it. Whoa. I was going to say, how could that possibly stay up? Watch the 8-pin. Look like for a minute it's going to stand up there.
10th mark for the team. We've had a problem with fill balls, though. Let's see how Owen does here. That looks a little better.
Whoa, he just tripped the 10-pin out. Good ball going in the 1-3 pocket. It looked for a second, 4, 7, 10. Wood turned around and clipped the 10-pin, gives him an 8-pin drop on the spare. More importantly, another spare leave. So drive the wood straight back.
Just catching it on the end of that wood. Probably a little closer than he would have liked, but it counts as a spare, and that's 2 in a row for the team.
So that's 11 marks for them, 11 marks also for the other team, and yet the lead is 22.
Of course, O'Brien and LeBlanc had the double strike to start the second game, and then that flurry at the end.
Four and the 8 pins left for Glenn.
He's got to wait for that wood to quiet down. It looks like it is probably going to come to rest away from the 8-pin. It has.
Doesn't want to cap that wood, though. Well, he goes right on the 4-pin clean. That was a good shot because he wanted to avoid the front piece of that wood, because if he clipped it, might have deflected the ball around those 2 pins. So it's a mark in the 3rd. He's going to try to improve on that 4-fill that they had on the first spare. Well, half as many. So an opening for Martin and Maffeo.
Gets out of it with a 10. That brings up John Maffeo now. He is working on a spare.
Trailing by 22. They just can't cash in on it either. Half wish to right.
Plays it inside. Look out. The 8-pin stays.
That's what he wanted on the spare. Obviously.
And he gets out of it with a 10. Taking 5 pins off the lead. So it's 22 still. Opposite of 10 bucks. This would probably be a big box to get a mark in here. And he'll shoot at one, the 2-5.
Just touching the head pin on the right-hand side, so he's really got to make sure he catches the 2-pin. And he does, and it is another mark.
None of them are easy when you have to make them, and Martin and Maffeo are trying to come from behind here in the 3rd and final game on Stars and Strikes Doubles. We'll finish it off after these words. stretch drive time here on Stars and Strikes doubles. And to begin, Tom O'Brien.
Well, not a bad lead for missing the head pin. He's got the 1 and the 10. Oh boy, it's looking better by the minute. Piece of wood turned nice on the head pin. And another one behind it. That has the angle for the 10 pin, it looks like from here. Stays above the red line, and the piece of wood on the left. You should cover both of these.
He's waiting to be sure that wood will stay in the same spot. And there it is. Using the wood, the angle's favorable.
How the fill? Well, better than they have been, but still it's only 6. 4 horsemen right, 1, 3, 6, 10 left.
The runner-up team in this show. Ooh, looked like he had it.
Certainly did. Buried it in 1-3, got the 1-3-6, never touched the 10.
The runner-up team on this show will share $250 of prize money and get runner-up plaques from the N&R Trophy Company. The winner, of course, gets a shot at the big money and, more importantly, a spot in the Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions. Next week, the winners of this match will face Mike Morrill and Jack Quinn. This is a fill ball for Owen Martin, and it's 6.
He didn't leave that one short. He really gave it the extra twist that time and broke too sharp for him. 3, 6, 10 on the right with the 4 pin.
Well, the team of Martin and Maffeo can't seem to get any closer than 22. That's where they are still right now.
Trading 10, spare 6, spare 6, 10. Well, it's open again here in the 6 for O'Brien and LeBlanc.
And again, it seemed down as he made that extra effort to turn it over and make sure he got it up to the head pin, and this time punching through. That would maybe a factor in this shot.
He's going to try to split the 2-4, the 3-6. He's going inside of the 2-4. Well, they grab 3 so he doesn't lose any more in count. What happens is one less box to work with, one less frame. Lost 2 more in count. So the lead is now 24. 4 frames remaining.
And for his final 2, Glenn LeBlanc. You see the damage they did last week. 17 marks. And he punches through the middle. It does seem to get contagious after a while, doesn't it?
Well, I said maybe we need another 400. Well, both teams are going to have to scramble for that.
That ball came very close to going through the middle. Yeah, a nice 10. Like Glenn LeBlanc, all these pins could be important in the long run.
Just touches the 3 pin off the sidewall for the 2 pin off the sidewall for the 3. The all important 8th frame, trying to set his partner up with a mark.
Pretty good looking first ball. See where this wood turns. Shooting at the diamond, the 3, 5, 6, and the 9 in the back, and he takes it out. The ball, it appeared, followed through to take out the 9 after deflecting off the wood. Let's look at it. Nope, it was
Combination of the 2, I think, yeah. Well, John Maffeo can gain some here if he gets a mark. He's opposite just a 10, but boy.
Well, at least that wasn't on a mark.
He's almost has to convert.
Oh, he was going for it inside route. And now the safe way just to get as many as he can, and it's 7. So that evens up this string, but of course, team of O'Brien and LeBlanc had 27 pins coming in, and now Martin and Maffeo opposite a spare.
Well, he wants to do the same thing that Tom O'Brien did, is put a mark up, preferably a strike, and that's what he does.
That's it.
Always keeps him alive because the chance of his throwing the double strike.
Fourth strike for the team, each team with 4 now.
This is a big fill. Filling a spare. And again, 6. The 2, the 5, the 7, and the 8.
Oh! The wood flying by. They're at 376 with a box to go. Right in the pocket. And there's the strike. Once again, a possible 4-5 leave turns into a strike.
That was a big one too, because if he left that one open, then the double strike would certainly, practically anyways, give Martin and Maffeo the lead, depending on the fill. But this is going to make it real tough. Owen Martin's still going to be thinking strike when he gets up there.
7 fill, 15 marks for the team of O'Brien and LeBlanc. 393.
And a 150 is a tie. And they're right now at a 110 clip, so he's got to throw some strikes. He'd like his first one right here. Got the head pin, but...
Well, if he converts this and throws a triple strike in the 10th, the match will be even. Going for it and not getting it, and that will do it. Gave it a heck of a try, throwing everything over into the right corner. But that will cinch it for Glenn LeBlanc and Tom O'Brien. They will make it 2 wins in a row and move into the championship match next week against Mike and Jack Quinn, who, by the way, are both newcomers to Stars and Strikes next week in that #1 seeded spot. Owen Martin now for the 10th. Watch out. Trying to make something happen. Owen turns around. He's got a big smile on his face. This was not to be today for the team of Martin and Maffeo. An 8-box, a 117, and a 3-string total, 360. Tom O'Brien and Glenn LeBlanc make it 2 in a row, and we'll be back to talk to them and to our runners-up as well and tell you about next week's championship match after these words. Welcome back to Stars and Strikes Doubles here on the Winds, and joining me up here center stage, Owen Martin and John Maffeo, our runners-up on this particular match. And guys, we have the checks for you, $125 apiece, and third place. I'm sure not exactly what you had in mind, but your first time here, Owen, and boy, the breaks just didn't seem to happen when you needed them.
No, exactly. We had him down a couple of times, and if we could just get a little bit of luck, you know, it'd have been at that time. It would have been a little turning point in the match, but. Chopping wood, we really did some punching today.
Well, and hopefully it won't be as long before we see you for a second time here on Stars and Strikes. Thanks for joining us. And John, of course, we see you all the time, so I'm sure we're going to have you back again. All right, next month. All right. Oh, a bold prediction there. Thanks very much, guys. Owen Martin and John Maffeo, our runners-up. And now let's quickly bring up Tom O'Brien and Glenn LeBlanc. A big round of applause for them as they make it 2 in a row. And... this time we get Tom in here. All right, well, just both turn toward the camera so we can get a good look at you. And, well, you had to sweat it out a little bit there in the third, but you managed to get the job done.
Well, the way I started out with the 2 5-10s, I said, this ain't going to be my day today. I got 2 pocket hits. I said, oh, no. But I got a great partner, and he came on in the first, second, and third string, and he helped me out a lot. And I got my game back in the second string when I had the double, so I figured, if I keep that going, I can help him out, and hopefully we can grab a win.
Well, quick thought, Glenn, next week you guys move into the finals, Mike Morrill and Jack Quinn.
Oh, I know them both. I just hope we bring our best bowling along with us, and we'll see what happens.
All right, we're looking forward to it. We will see you next week. We've got a scoot, so congratulations on win number 2. Glenn LeBlanc and Tom O'Brien, and let's take a look at the ladder one more time to set you up for next week and the finals. There it is, O'Brien and LeBlanc with 2 wins in a row, and Dan Murphy, you know a little bit about this team coming in next week. They've not been with us before, either of them, Mike Morrill or Jack Quinn, but you know them both.
Well, that's one of those misleading stats. They've never been with us, but they're no stranger to the bowling centers, and they're 2 quality Candlepin bowlers, and it's going to be a good test for them.
All right, it's championship week next Sunday at 1 o'clock here on Stars and Strikes Doubles, and of course we'll see you at 12 for Stars and Strikes. For Dan Murphy and the whole TV50 Sports crew, Doug Brown, bye-bye everybody from Park Place Lanes.